The dreaded heater core.
She was definitely leaking. We pull this off, there may be oil down here.
New old stock.
So I'm just going to submerge it in some water, and there we go.
Hello and welcome to Gearhead 704. I'm Matt, and you might be thinking we're working on this car today, but we are not. If you clicked on the video title, you know we are doing a very different car. And guys, this is pretty much an all original 82 GT. Matt Fox Mustang Restoration. We've got the owner over there, Kim, helping Matt out. They're both in there. And you can see the dash is coming apart. What they're working on today is the heater core, of course, the dreaded heater core. And that's what we're gonna cover today, is how to go ahead and get one installed. And we get to do it on this 82 GT. Pretty excited about this, and we're gonna do it kind of like a how-to, like we normally do, right? But this car is gonna be, it's gonna be a lot easier, Matt, than pulling the dash on my car, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know I love originality, and this sucker is 95% original.
Yeah, so all the screws are there.
Down to the owner.
Yeah, that's right, the original owner too. Doesn't get more original than that. Unlike my car, his car has all the pieces. So anyway, if you missed how to pull the dash, that's the first thing we have to do. I do have another video on that. So go ahead and check that out. I'll throw a card to that video right there so you can see that card. Also, I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can check that out to get to the point basically where we're gonna pick up in this car. And yeah, it should be fun. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, guys, we're about to pull the dash. Already covered up the transmission, not the transmission, but the stick shift.
Yeah, covered up
the shifter.
Covered up the console and the shifter to make sure we don't scratch anything up. So when I pull the 4i dash, I disconnect all the electrical stuff and pull the whole dash out of the car. And that's mainly because the aero dash harness actually goes into the engine compartment and disconnects the underhood harness from the dash harness under the hood. But this one here, I can disconnect everything behind the dash and pull the whole thing without having to take anything from underneath the hood.
I remember we had to pull that underneath the hood before, so
yeah,
that's a lot better. All right, guys, the dash is pretty much ready to go. It's not all the way out of the car. The reason why is the connector that goes to the transmission. In order to do that, you got to take the carpet out, jack up the car, and so we don't need to do that today. It's just on 79 to 82s. The disconnection for it in later models is there, but so that's what's going on right here. The dash is enough out of the way that we can get to what we need to.
Yeah, so here, we already got the dash out, so we're getting ready to remove the heater and evaporator box to replace those. Got all of his emission stuff removed out of the way. But yeah, disconnecting the accumulator now. It should be loose.
And you already took off the heater hoses, I see?
Yeah, the heater hoses, actually we did that a while ago, because what you can do, if the heater core starts leaking and you don't have time to replace it, you can just simply go to the auto parts store. They have bypass connectors, and the two hoses that go into the heater core, we just connect them together. It's got like a metal nipple inside of there. You hose clamp it together. This way the cooling system's still flowing correctly.
Yeah. We
just bypass the heater core.
Okay, and so you just leave those unplugged?
Yeah, we just left those unplugged. They were hanging up over here, but of course, you know, once we get the stuff in, we'll take that out and we'll hook everything back up.
Yeah, because Kim was telling me that basically Matt noticed the leak before it got in your carpet, right?
Yep. Sure
which
did.
is perfect. Carpet didn't get messed up, and
nope,
that was great.
Now we're gonna take the liquid line off, and then at that point I got 2 nuts here to remove the accumulator bracket, 2 more nuts for the heater box, and then I got 4 nuts inside under the dash to take loose, and then the heater box is coming out.
The cool part is, Kim, you're providing lighting for me today, so they're gonna get better quality for me on the channel. we got lights, we got sound, we got it all today, Matt.
Yeah.
Whole field crew.
Yeah, I'm gonna get spoiled by this.
There we go, and then that takes off the accumulator bracket. Now we'll take the big nuts off for the heater box.
In there, ain't it?
Yeah, buddy.
That's the first time she's been out, I can tell you this.
Oh yeah. Oh, vacuum hose, forgot about that bad boy. There we go.
Heater box is out.
Yep, we'll set up the table and we'll swap those stuff over and reverse the process. There we go.
So basically I just have to hit the rewind button now and we're good. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move the blower motor box just so the evaporator case is a little easier to work with. All FoxBody blower motor boxes come off about the same. This one's got 1 bolt on the bottom and 1 bolt up here, whereas in aero cars will have 2 bolts at the bottom, but it's got a kind of like a hook and a catch up here. It won't have a bolt. So we got that off, so we'll pop off the heater core first, Kim. The heater core is gonna be this little lid right here. It's gonna be 5/16 bolts or 8mm. Both will work. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pop those 5 bolts out. This cover will come off, then we can remove the heater core. Then we'll have to flip the box upside down, unbolt it, separate the whole case, then we can do the evaporator, and I'm gonna go get your new parts.
All right.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
I think you guys are gonna like these new parts too. He told me a little bit. So they're not just new parts, they're new special parts. We'll talk about it in a second.
Pull her out.
There's the heater core, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flip her over.
40 years old.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years old. 38.
There's the leak.
Sure enough.
Wow.
Look at that.
She was definitely leaking.
38 years has been a good one though.
She's been riding around with you that long, you finally get to touch her. Yeah, look at that. Definitely leaking, guys.
So now go ahead and flip her up on this side. A couple of screws here. Now here's a big difference between the early 4i, at least 85, may have been 83, they started gluing the cases together. On the evaporator case, on the upper and lower, they actually glued them together. On this early version, it's really nice because this one actually bolts together. So
Nice.
you can remove it and do the evaporator service pretty easily. This one doesn't have it, but on the later model cars, on top of the evaporator, it's gonna have kind of like 2 ridges and like a line guide, and you're supposed to cut the box. Cut the hole in the top of the box to remove the evaporator. I hate that because in my mind, it just makes leaks. Even if you seal it up with butyl, I mean, you got that big seam. So what I do on those, even though they're glued together, if you take a little screwdriver and a hammer and just kind of pop it with the hammer and a little twist, that glue breaks loose. So on aero cars, I actually do the same thing. I break the glue loose and then I separate it, do the evaporator service like that, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put a little bit of glue to put it back together, and I'll throw some self-tapping screws into the case, just 4 or 5, just to hold it together while the glue dries. And this way you don't end up with this massive hole that you cut out of this box, and you're messing with the stability of the box. You're gonna have air leaks, and if the air leaks right at the evaporator, that air won't be going over the evaporator, and it has to actually go through the fins in the evaporator to do the heat exchange to get cold. And if it's going around it or outside of it, then you're gonna have a really poor cooling.
Yeah, what kind of glue do you use on that?
Depending on what I have, RTV adhesive works for like a long-term set. That's what I prefer to use
RTV.
because then it makes a seal at the same time. A lot of people will use maybe super glue or something like that, but the problem with that, it doesn't seal it really well.
Okay.
And an RTV, there are at least 2 different versions. You got RTV gasket maker, which is what you're going to use for gaskets. Then you have RTV adhesive. You need to read the label because the packages and the bottles look identical except for the change in those words.
Yeah, the gasket maker is what we've been using on like the engine components. You would use the adhesive here?
If it was an aero car, I would use the adhesive.
Okay, yeah. But he's got the bolts, so that makes it easy.
So go ahead and flip her over, Kim. They used butyl to seal it before. This is
from the factory.
Yeah, this is 40-year-old butyl, so it's nice and dried out. We'll throw a little bit of butyl in there to reseal it when we bolt it back up. Because again, you don't want air leaks.
Even if you put the bolts down, it still might leak some air.
Right, exactly. So I think that's one of the things I'm going to be making here soon is I'm going to make a seal kit to
that'd be
do all
awesome.
these, and I'll put it on the website when I get that done. Another thing that's unique to the early 4i evaporator cases that you won't see on the later ones, there's a couple of little snap clips that'll help hold it together too. So you just simply pop that off. So that was a combination of clips and screws. And now we should be ready to separate it. Oh, I got a couple more clips. A couple clips hidden here. Let's see what kind of surprises are in here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ooh, yummy.
Ooh, that's the evaporator.
Yep. This is the evaporator and all this stuff. So your fresh air comes in from your cowl. That's why that's vented, because you're getting all the fresh air into the cab from your AC through there. And so this is all stuff that's fallen into the cowl and has worked into the evaporator from the cowl.
And this evaporator was working, guys, but when you're already here this far, you might as well go ahead and change it out.
Yeah, exactly. If we pull this off, there may be maybe some oil down here. No, that's pretty dry. So if it was leaking, you can see a little bit there. If it was leaking, it wasn't too bad.
It's still in pretty good shape, yeah.
Yeah, this side's dry.
Look at that, yeah.
So I think you had a real small leak right here. You can see how it's kind of matted. So over time, a really slow leak, you'll get that little bit of like a matted, oily, dirty look. Yeah. And that's probably, you had a real, and it looked like it's probably right here at this solder. You had a real small leak, which, as you said, we had suspected you did have a small one. But it was still working, and this is not why we replaced the evaporator. We're doing the evaporator because we've already done the work to pull this thing out, and it's dumb not to spend the extra money and just throw the evaporator in. 6 months or a year later, you're going to be doing it again.
Yeah. Want to avoid that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, you're opening up. It's like Christmas,
Good,
Kim.
yeah. Oh. We're almost to Christmas, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, not far away.
Yeah.
So we've got new old stock
Old stock.
evaporator.
Way to go.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a reproduction, guys. This is a Ford product.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not many of these. There you go. Motorcraft.
Cool deal.
So we got the new evaporator.
Yep, so something a lot of people miss, and you can see even a brand new Ford one doesn't come with everything. So if you look on here, it's got a foam seal around the edge. And again, as I was explaining earlier, you need the air to go through these fins to be able to cool properly. If it doesn't go through the vents, if it goes around it, it will not cool efficiently. None of the aftermarkets come with this, and even the original Ford doesn't come with it, but you want to take some foam seal and wrap the edge of the evaporator. This way the airflow doesn't go around it, it will go through it, and that's how you maximize cooling.
Yeah, there we go, guys. We got them side by side. You can kind of see this is the foam Matt was talking about. It goes all the way around. Okay, and it's only on one side. Was it on the other side too, and we removed it already? Or?
No, it's not on that side because again, you're only sealing out airflow. You only need to seal it on one portion. So the evaporator will sit in the car like this. So the airflow comes in from the blower motor right here, goes through the evaporator on this side, and then the cold air will come out on this side.
Okay.
So if you'll notice, the seal is on the intake side of the evaporator.
To force the air into there, right?
To force the air in, not to let it go around, because any air that would go around it may only be cooled 50% of what the air that would actually go through it would be. To get your AC system maximum performance, you want to make sure that these seals for the blend door are good, and you also want to make sure when you put your evaporator in that you put new seals on here for the airflow. And real quick, if anybody's wanting to do this when they're doing their evaporator, if you want to get this seal, we do sell it. What we sell the seal for is actually, we call it channel to frame seal. And for T-tops and convertibles, the metal channel that screws to the car that the weather stripping attaches to, this goes between that bracket that screws to the car and the car itself. So that's what we sell this for. It's channel the frame seal. It's the same thing used in here. So if anybody needs this, just channel the frame seal. It's adhesive backed. So you just peel it and it sticks right on.
And this will be the same way on the Aero cars and the 83 and up?
Exactly,
Okay.
Yep, exactly. One thing I'd like to point out is the only thing is you really don't want to put it on the very top or at the highest point, because then the evaporator may not fit into the case properly.
Okay.
So if you'll notice, I'm putting it in just off center.
And I think you can get 10% off these with my promo code,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So-
And I'm gonna go ahead and double this up just a little bit, just to make sure we get a good seal.
Yeah, Kim, they gave me on promo code, so you can get 10% off with promo code Gearhead704.
There you go.
That does count for the shirts, by the way, guys. So if you want a Gearhead704 shirt, pick you one up while you're getting this. I
Absolutely.
gotta plug it.
There we go.
And if someone was just replacing the heater core, they wouldn't have to take the whole part of the box off, just that top section.
Correct, but
But-
again, if you're doing all the work to replace the heater core,
Yeah,
do the evaporator.
yeah.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor.
Make your future self like you and
Yeah.
not hate you.
And Matt's got some butyl he's putting down, so we can get that airtight seal.
This is the same butyl we use for the taillight lens installation kit. So I'm just taking it and I'm stretching it thinner. And it's got grooves. You don't want to make it too thick because then your case won't go back together correctly. You just make it nice and thin.
You use this on the quarter windows when you're installing too, or no?
Yeah, same type of stuff you use for the quarter windows too.
Cool.
We're putting it back together. We went ahead and we cleaned out the case, the drain hole. That's another thing you want to look for, where the condensation drips out. A lot of times you're going to build up a lot of crud like that was on the evaporator. It's going to build up there and that can clog that hole. And a lot of times when that hole gets clogged, what'll happen is your AC case will start filling up with water, and if it fills up enough, it'll actually start dripping onto your carpet. When you're pulling it out, make sure that's clean. We got our new butyl on, so we're gonna put this back on, but whenever we do this, we need to make sure the evaporator stays in place, goes into this properly, and this, we need to make sure that this duct door right here, this goes back into the proper hole. So if you're ready, Kim, go ahead and flip her around. We're looking good there.
One thing, guys, the evaporator did make it a little tight with the foam, so you just got to kind of wiggle it around there, but if you don't put too much, it will fit.
Yep, and just whenever you're doing it, because we got new butyl and the new plump foam, you do need to compress that all a little bit. So a lot of times when you're putting it together, you just gotta hold it closed. And then we got these little clips that we can just pop on here to help hold it too.
We have our other new part right here. Kim just unboxed it.
And as
Look
you
at
can
that.
See the difference.
Yeah.
What a difference.
One's green with envy, the other one is not. Brand new heater core, new old stock.
Yes, sir.
These are easy to find, right, Matt?
Oh yeah, they're all over the place. What I want to do on this heater core, just because it's new old stock and it's been in the box probably at least 20 years, November of '93. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna fill up a bucket. We're just gonna put some air on that. We're gonna make sure that there's no leaks before we do all this work.
So like we said, guys, this has been in the box 27 years, so Matt's just gonna test it, make sure it's good. We think it will be.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna submerge it in some water. I'm gonna put my finger over one hole, get all the air out of it first to get all those bubbles out. 0 bubbles.
No bubbles, guys.
Good thing.
Heater core's good to go.
Good heater core. Oh, here, let's blow that out.
Yeah.
So for the heater core, Matt's also putting new butyl down.
The same thing for the heater core. Seal the sides so we don't have any leakage.
Time for the heater core.
Yeah, so we got a nice ring of butyl in there. And again, you only need it on one side. No reason to do it on both. And then there we go. New old stock heater core's in place. And Kim, if you want to go ahead and slap that cover on, we can do that. And then this can go on last, I believe.
Okay guys, Matt's about to install the blower motor. Kind of got the heater box mainly put back together here.
Yeah, a couple of key points you want to keep in mind. You just got the wire harness for the blower motor that comes around from the back side. That has to be tucked right in this area before you attach the blower motor to the blower box. The other thing is, this is kind of like a hook system. So you've got like a little like hook ledge right here that locks into a recess in here. So you actually got to kind of come in like this, hook it up, and then swing it down.
The heater box all put back together with our new parts, the evaporator and the heater core. Time to get her back in.
There you go. You're in.
Go ahead and slap one of these up there.
So Kim's getting the underhood stuff here. He's getting the accumulator back in. All right guys, so Kim went ahead. He got the heater box secured on this side. Obviously the heater box is inside the car. The nuts there, he got those down. They come through. And now we're back to putting the dash back in. All right, so we're reconnecting the electrical connectors that you disconnected, pulling it out.
Fun one's always the door jamb switch.
So basically, guys, Matt was just lining up the dash. You've got, you know, several bolts across the top. I think it's 5 maybe.
Yeah.
And Matt put the center one in first once everything was kind of lined up. This was after connecting most of the wiring harnesses that he had to before he could put it in place. Still got some other ones you got to connect here now. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Just getting the, remember where you took the screws out, put them back in.
Yep.
So on the time lapse there, just about ready to go back together. Matt's putting the dash in, or the instrument cluster rather, right now.
Yeah. Get it back together.
Not too much more to do.
Nope.
So while Matt's getting that in, pretty much inside the cars, not too much more to do. We do have some things to do under the hood though. Gonna let him finish this up. Then we'll bring you guys under the hood and call out what you need to do there to hook everything up. And then we're about done with this, guys. The back under the hood, guys, you know, we did the bypass. I talked about that earlier, bypass the heater core. But now we got the new heater core. So Kim's just gonna disconnect these, disconnect the bypass. There's a little nipple in there and plug it straight in. And then you'll have heat again. You'll have heat again, Kim. That'll be good.
I'm glad. Getting winter done.
Yep, just in time for winter. So guys, this was the bypass nipple that was put in. Obviously it's got to come out now, but this is all that was used to bypass the heater core. Just wanted to highlight that for you. Yeah, he got that out, guys. And so one side is 5/8, one side's 3/4. Something to just pick up, you know, auto parts store, but there you go. So guys, connecting up the evaporator now. Matt did get Kim some new O-rings.
You know what we're using to seal the O-rings or to lubricate them?
Yeah.
A little bit of dielectric grease.
Of course.
So just gonna clean off the fittings and we're gonna slide the O-rings over there, put a little bit of dielectric grease on them so they don't get bound up and pinch or get a hole in them. The large one goes to the accumulator. and the smaller one's gonna go onto the liquid line. The liquid line attaches to the intake to the evaporator, and the accumulator attaches to the discharge to the evaporator.
Okay, you had to clean them off. We're putting our old friend dielectric grease.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right there.
Kim's got it on there. Here's the O-ring, guys, he's using. Obviously, just saw him connect the other one. Yep, so he's cleaning it off first, guys. We're about to do the other one. All right, it just goes right on the end, guys.
Roll him up on there.
All right, guys, we pretty much finished up all the connections under the hood for the most part, but you see we got some lines here. What's going on here, Matt?
We're getting ready to charge the Freon into the AC system. However, you cannot just throw Freon in the system. It won't work very well, if at all. So what you have to do when you're doing an AC system, first thing you need to do is we need to remove everything atmospheric within the system. So we open the system up, which means all the ambient air which is outside is now inside of the system, including the humidity that's in the air. Number one, you cannot have any atmospheric air within the system. It doesn't get cold and it counteracts what the Freon's trying to do. Not only that, the moisture inside the system starts eating up, turns to an acid with the oxygen inside. The moisture interacts with the oil from the AC system and starts eating it up from the inside out. So the way that you fix that is I have a vacuum pump. We put the entire system underneath the vacuum, be 30 inches of vacuum. That's gonna remove all the air and it's gonna pull out all the moisture. So whenever we're ready to charge a system, there's actually gonna be inside that system, once the vacuum's done, it's just like outer space. There is no air, it's a vacuum. With that vacuum, we'll start putting our Freon in, and this way the Freon is gonna replace the vacuum 100%, so that's how we know that there's nothing but Freon inside the system, and that's the proper way to do it. If you do not vac your system down, it won't work right, if at all. You just have to do this.
Yeah, and this is R134A actually, right? It's been converted to
Correct,
R134A.
yeah, we converted it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the vacuum pump on and we'll vacuum this down.
Yep, here's the vacuum pump, guys. This removes basically anything inside the system is pretty much what you're saying, right, Matt?
Air and moisture.
All the air moisture's coming out. Once that's done, we're gonna put the good stuff in. All right, guys, he just shut it off. We got a good vacuum now in there, so ready to hook up our Freon or R134A.
Showing 30 inches of vacuum, so we're in full vacuum. If you want to check if you have a leak in an AC system, you can watch that needle, and if you lose vacuum, you got a leak. And we're not losing any vacuum. We're still at 30, so we're good to go. If it's a bad enough leak, you're gonna see that move right away, at least a little bit. So what we're gonna do now, there is vacuum inside the AC system. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that vacuum inside the AC system and the pressure in the can to push as much in as I can before we turn the car on.
Vacuum should pull it in.
It's coming in from the low side. The low side is gonna be the blue side, and it's low because of the pressure. This deals with the lower pressure than the high side. Cam, if you wanna go ahead and crank her up.
Ready?
Yep, and then what we'll do is we'll start the car and we'll use the compressor to suck the rest of the Freon in.
All right, so now the car's running with the AC, and we're going ahead, pulling the rest of it in. Matt's changing cans out. We're just gonna fill it all in, so.
Yep.
All right, guys, as you can see, the interior is put back together, and it's done. The job is done. We've got the heater core and the evaporator in there now, so we're good to go. We also have some other stuff going on because obviously the car has moved. So that's another video in case you missed that one. I believe that one came out first. We covered everything about the 82 GT, and Kim kind of shared some of his story about ownership. So that's a pretty cool video. Definitely check that out on the channel. Should just be a couple videos ago. I will leave a link down in the description below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this helps you out a lot if you are also trying to do the same thing. The big thing is don't be too scared of the evaporator. Matt covered kind of all the gotchas there today with that, and heater core is really not that bad. We're gonna find out more on how to do that on my car, or I will at some point. But we've got a lot more to do right now there as well, as you can tell. So that's pretty much it for this video too. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. If you are stopping in for the first time, please subscribe because we've got a lot more FoxBody content coming. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see you next time here on Gearhead 704.